How's it going today, everybody, and welcome back to Shaner's Mechanic Life. Are you a do-it-yourselfer that's looking for a budget-friendly diagnostic tool to help troubleshoot some of the check engine light issues you run into? Or are you a mechanic that works in a shop that is tired of waiting in line for the diagnostic tools that they only have one of, and you want to get one of your own? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a tool I picked up that has quickly become one of my must-have tools. Let me show you. Picked up one of these. The Ancel S3000 diagnostic leak detector. Now, I deal with a lot of troubleshooting issues, a lot of check engine lights with lean codes like P0171 P0174, or even getting in Evap systems, P0455 P0456 for system leaks. You can use one of these to help diagnose it, find out what your problem is, and get your diagnosis right the first time, as well as you can use something like this to help test for boost leaks if you got a turbo. Now, what I like about this is quick hookup to your 12-volt battery, and a lot of the diagnostic smoke detectors you have in the shops, you need shop air to run it. This one has a built-in compressor, so it's pretty much a standalone unit. That, and another good thing is you don't need any special fluid to run it. Basically just runs on baby oil. You just fill it in the fill port up top, keep it between the minimum and maximum, and the smoke generated actually smells kind of nice. But little tip, if you're using this and you're working late, make sure you tell your significant other about it, because if you go home smelling like baby oil, you're gonna have some explaining to do. So the kit comes with the smoke machine here. You get your rubber hose, tapered adapter for getting into vacuum ports, stuff like that, and your battery hookups as well. And you can tell it's been around the block. The box is getting pretty tore up. And here's what comes in the kit. This cone adapter where you can put it in your fuel fill port, or even, you know, intake hoses, whatever it fits. And for those other oddly shaped ones, almost like testing your blood pressure, so you put that in, pump it up tight, you can put your tapered fitting in there and smoke the system. Here's a little funnel for filling up your baby oil. Now, one thing I wish it came with was, instead of a cardboard box, I wish it came with like a plastic blow molded case or something like that. So I went back on Amazon and I picked up a case for it. I had listed that it would fit the S3000. Now, everything in this video, I'll put links in the description if you want more information, or if you want to pick up one of your own. So what I'll do is we'll play around. We'll see what if I can get everything to fit in there. Now, it is a tight squeeze, but everything does fit in the case. And it zips up. Not too much of a hassle. A little bit more waterproof and a little bit more durable than the cardboard box it came in. Another thing I picked up is for when you're testing Evap systems. I picked up this adapter from Autoline Pro. A lot of the Evap systems, they've got a test port with a Schrader valve, a little tool to take that out. Now you got to remember, the Schrader valves in the Evap systems are left-hand thread, so it's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty instead. And basically that just threads onto the port. You get the rubber hose, and you can smoke your Evap system through that. Now, like I said earlier, super easy to use. Just hook up your positive and negative, Pick whatever adapter you're using for whatever you're testing, and you can hang it up off the hood prop. And you got 3 controls on it. You get your compressor, you got your smoke, as well as you can adjust how much flow of smoke you want. And it's also got a gauge to show your leak size. So if that ball is up at the top, you got quite a substantial leak. And then as it starts building up pressure, and if it's sealed, you'll see that ball drop down and you'll start building pressure. Now you'll see coming up soon, once I start showing you on some vehicles, this thing starts up quick and generates smoke pretty quick. But there's basically a 5-minute duty cycle on this. So that's the last thing you want to do, is overheat it or overpressurize the system. If you're testing the Evap system, a lot of those systems only run about 1 psi. So the last thing you want to do is overpressurize it. Or if you're smoking an intake, looking for vacuum leaks and such, you got to remember that it will actually go into your PCV system as well, which will get into your crankcase. And the last thing you want to do is overpressurize your crankcase and end up popping out a rear main seal or something like that. So always look up kind of what system you're working on, what kind of pressures you're dealing with, and keep an eye on your gauge. Well, enough chit-chatting. Let's get out in the shop and we'll do some smoke testing. Here we go. Let's try it on this Toyota forklift. It's the same as everything else. If you're doing the intake, undo your intake boot. Put the adapter in, pump it up so it fits nice and tight. Hook up your battery connections, turn your machine on, set your flow to whatever you prefer, and wait for the smoke. You know, you can put it in before the smoke comes out, but waiting for this, just make sure the unit's working properly. And here we go. I always try to get it in there before it gets too much smoke around. And just wait. And I already see some smoke. Looks like the housing are on top of the carburetor. There's no ring in there. That may be dried out or worn. And it's seeing something else. Looks like it's coming from around here or the other side. Looks like coming from the valve cover. The valve cover bolt's loose. Coming from there worse. And also got leaks coming from our spark plug boots. What this particular motor has is little cups. Pull this one off. These cups go into the cylinder head and you got the crankcase around it. So there's O-rings here that seal the oil. The plugs go in from there. Looks like these O-rings are dried out and leaking too. You can see it on this one, that one, probably all are. And that's not it, folks. Looks like we also have a leak coming from PCV hose. This thing's rock hard and not sealing too well. Definitely a good example on how much you can find with just this small little unit. Now you can also use your Ancel S3000 to smoke test your Evap system. But in order to do that, you're going to have access to a bidirectional scan tool. Just in the nature of the way the system works. With the key off, engine off, your purge valve is generally in a closed position and sealed. whereas your vent valve, which is at the back of the fuel tank, is generally in the open position. So if you pressurize the system with smoke, you're just going to find a false leak at your evap vent valve. But if you got the scan tool, you can command the system to close and enable you to smoke test the evap system. So we're just going to pretend that we've got the system commanded to be sealed, and I'm going to show you how to smoke test the evap system. So to do that, you're going to have to gain access to the evap system. Generally, a couple good points to tie into the system is at your purge solenoid. What you can do, first off, you want to make sure purge solenoid is not leaking. So you undo the clamp between the purge solenoid and the rest of the system. You can start your engine and put your thumb over the port. If you feel vacuum, your purge solenoid's leaking, because that draws from your intake manifold. And like I said earlier, generally it's in a closed position when you have your electrical connector disconnected. This one is very easy to get at. Just wiggle your clamp free, and now you're in. Like I said, with the engine running, you want to check to see if you have vacuum at this port. Here, we don't have anything. So we know this solenoid is sealed and doing its job. But while you're doing that, always be careful. You've got running belts and a fan in the way. Last thing you want to do is get tied up with that. Now when you're smoke testing the evap system, what you got to be careful of is these systems generally only run about 1 psi. So the last thing you want to do is overpressurize it. And if you do that, you're just going to be making even more problems for yourself. So while you're smoke testing it, keep an eye on your pressure gauge. Make sure it doesn't go anywhere near that. Now some vehicles, they have a test port for the evap system. What you want to do is look for this green cap. You undo that, and inside there's a Schrader valve. As you can see, it says, let's see if I can get it to focus there, evap service port, 1 psi maximum regulated pressure only. So it even reminds you right on that. So what you do, you take a Schrader valve out, same thing as it goes into your tire, but only this one's a left-hand thread. So it's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty on this one. Now, I went and I picked up one of these from Autoline Pro off of Amazon. What it is, it's a little tool to take out the Schrader valve, as well as a test port connection. So once you get your Schrader valve out, you spin this on, and you put your smoke tester connection right there. Then what you want to do is look at the outlet of your purge valve, which you'd open that. When you're smoke testing it, see if you have smoke coming out here. That will tell you if this is sealing or not. So for this test, what we're going to do is I'm not going to hook up the scan tool. I'm basically going to use that vent valve to create basically a false leak. So we're going to pressure test the system, and what you do is once it's running, look around for smoke, just like we did when we did the intake. So just like the other ones, start it up. Now always wait. Make sure your smoke's coming out. Because one time I was using it and I had a kink in the hose, so I had no smoke outlet. Or output, I mean. So I'm just waiting for the smoke to start, which it is. And firmly press it into your evap hose and start looking for leaks. At the same time, keeping an eye on system pressure. Make sure you don't go over 1 psi. So every vehicle's a little bit different. This one, here's your charcoal canister mounted next to your fuel tank. Here's your vent solenoid. And generally you'll see a hose coming off that going to the atmosphere. You can see here we got smoke coming out there. Now that's basically because I have not sealed the system with a scan tool, but it just shows you kind of what to look for. So check all your hoses, check around your fuel tank, the lines front to back, and just look for any sign of smoke. So once you're done looking or finding your leaks, just simply put everything back together again. Undo all your testers and connections, and return your hoses back to where they're supposed to be. Well, what everybody think? You know, I've had this kit for quite some time, and to tell you the truth, I'm very happy with it. It's found a lot of problems pretty quick for me. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the comment section. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and notification bell in the bottom right hand corner. That way you get notified when I get new videos coming out. Well, that's it for tonight, everybody. Have a good night and keep wrenching.